Good evening. It's still Saturday, August 1st. And today we're going to be focusing on Dr. Li-Meng Yan. Dr. Yan is a virologist who was one of the first to study SARS-2 in China. She became a target of the Communist China Party because she was determined to expose the cover-up that China and the WHO have been doing about the whole pandemic, and she fled to the U.S., where she has been, and she is now beginning to speak out against the Communist Chinese Party. And we're gonna talk about what she has to say. I listened to her interviews. I took a lot of notes, did a lot of my own research, looked and compiled what she has told us thus far. She is working on a paper that she's going to be releasing pretty soon, and I am very excited to check it out, where she's going to be talking more about the SARS-2 virus. And so I have a 6-part series that I put together, and we will go over what it is that she has exposed of the CCP. All right, so CVG report number 57. Whistleblower Dr. Li-Meng speaks. A 6-part series. Give me one quick second. All right, so I want to check something real quick. I did have an issue with some of my paste bins not appearing anymore. Well, anyhow, let's go into the video. It shouldn't be that long. All right, so Whistleblower Dr. Li-Meng speaks, a 6-part series. Dr. Yan knew as far back as December 2019 that SARS-2 was infecting entire families and could spread human to human. She was told this by her colleagues. She showed it on her she showed the conversation on her phone in an interview. She was part of a team working on a secret investigation on SARS-2 in December in Wuhan. She was among the first virologists to study SARS-2. However, she was told by her supervisor to keep quiet and not cross the CCP. They told her don't cross the red line. Yan says, based on Zheng Lixi's recent July interview, she is still unable to answer much about the virus because the Chinese Communist Party has no interest in revealing the origin. Dr. Yan claims the virus is not natural and is something that could have been made within 6 months from a bat virus, which was discovered by the Chinese People's Liberation Army lab. She claims it was engineered to focus on humans as an enhanced version of the original SARS. She also notes that no high officials in China have gotten infected because they take HCQ. At the same time, they were behind efforts to discredit it. On Fauci, Yan said she is sure he knew that since 2005, HDQ had been used as a useful anti-SARS drug. It is effective in that it prevents the cytokine storm. HCQ has also shown it can protect your kidneys and reduce the risk of thrombosis. Now she takes the drug every day and says it can be used long-term, and it has been found safe to do so under the right doses. You can be pregnant, you could be a kid, and it's supposed to be safe to take the drug. Now, all drugs have side effects, that's just inevitable, but we have seen a lot of success. Like, if you watch Peak Prosperity's videos with Dr. Chris Martin, he goes in depth with HDQ, and he debunks the lies and shows you that HDQ is the cure when taken early. That's the key thing. You gotta take it early, because if you take it too late, you're already getting hit by the cytokine storm, and it's not gonna be able to help you. According to Yan, China deliberately released false SARS-2 genome sequence research and postponed other important research, including her own. She says the CCP took total control, influence, and censored the entire medical field in China to delay SARS-2 research to the world and used the WHO to claim a false origin and downplay the virus. So to add, Zheng Lixi, the bat woman, she released a paper talking about the ROTG13 at the same time that another virologist posted the real genome sequence. And there was it was a conspiracy because the Chinese Communist Party does not want people to trace this virus to apparently a virus that they have control of, and we'll get into it right now. Apparently, the wet market in Wuhan didn't have bats available for sale, and the only traces of SARS-2 were found on the environment, not the animals. Now, the Chinese Communist Party has admitted this. They admitted this a couple of days ago. So even their own origin story is it has fallen apart by their own words. She said on January 12th, China released falsified SARS-2 genome sequence research. She said her husband, who is a biologist in the Chinese research labs, made her aware of it. Unfortunately, her husband, who also works for the WHO, the World Health Organization, is now behind efforts to have her arrested. She said her husband found the info wrong because the genome is like a fingerprint, and the sequence China showed didn't actually match SARS-2. And this is compared to other research from other countries, as we'll get into. The wrong genome sequence was used so it could not be traced back to the People's Liberation Army-owned bat virus. She says the first overseas case was on January 13 in Thailand, where scientists there released the real genome sequence. As a result, on January 14, the previous version 1 genome sequence was replaced by version 2 in the NIH database, which she points out is a rare occurrence in the gene bank database. From that day, and among all the other known genome sequences in the database, she could see the Zhoushan bat coronavirus ZC45 and ZXC21 are the ones most close to SARS-2 and possibly the backbone of it. This version of the SARS-2 genome sequence was cracked and eventually led to a third version. She said she didn't get to finish comparing the two newer versions. On January 30th, Zheng Lixi submits her RATG13 paper to Nature. It's published on the same day in Nature with Professor Jixian, who was the first to officially publish the genome sequence of SARS-2. He also said it's most close to the Zhoushan bat virus. Peak Prosperity, a YouTuber, felt RATG13 may have been a CCP hoax in his SARS-2 is so alien video. Jixian was immediately punished by China and had his lab shut down for rectification. Ironically, his research helped lead to developing SARS-2 tests. His research revealed no bats were available for sale. There it is again. In the wet market, CCP claims is the origin. SARS-2 was only found on the environment. He also said despite deadly human coronaviruses outbreaks like SARS and MERS, the exact origin of human-infected coronaviruses remains unclear. He also said despite bats being able to carry SARS-like viruses, none are identical to SARS-2. He found SARS-2 may have first been spotted in December 1st instead of 30th, and that many of the first cases were not just tied to the wet market. SARS-2 is more infectious than SARS and MERS. SARS-1 is 79% similar to SARS-2, and both exhibit only 72% nucleotide sequence similarity. SARS-2 is also 96% similar to RATG13, horseshoe bat virus, but allegedly the RATG13 virus founded by Zheng Lixi was a hoax to trace the virus to the ROTG instead of tracing it to the Zhoushan bats, which is based off of the real genome sequence. That's the conspiracy that she's pointing out. The main difference between these two is that SARS-2 has a furin cleavage site insertion that makes it more infectious and is also not found in any related coronaviruses. One of the biggest mysteries to SARS-2 is the furin cleavage site because it heavily implies it had to be put in there through a lab. There's no other way to explain it. It couldn't have evolved that fast. SARS-2 can bind to humans better than MERS, which passed from camels to humans with only sporadic human-to-human transmission. Viruses similar to SARS-2 were also found in Malayan pangolins, illegally imported into southern China. Their viruses are closely related to SARS-2 in the receptor binding domain, containing all 6 of the 6 key mutations thought to shape binding to the ACE2 receptor and exhibiting a 97% amino acid sequence similarity. SARS is the 5th endemic coronavirus in the human population, alongside with HKU1, NL63, OC43, and 229E. Dr. Yan recalls of Dr. Li-Meng, who was isolated, punished, and forced to sign papers that silenced him. Yan says SARS-2 appears unnatural and seems put together in a Frankenstein way, like finding a dog with a deer head, a rabbit's ear, and monkey hands. She also claims the virus is too dangerous to have an origin as vaccine research, since it is too deadly to be used that way. She claims this virus can be done easily. She said if she had the PI's backbone protein, this virus can get made by gain of function experiments within half a year by herself, her being a virologist. Her boss Malik, top expert in viruses and director of the WHO reference lab, retired shortly after she fled Hong Kong with help from people within whistleblower movements. He recently got $27 million in research funding from the Hong Kong government. Dr. Yan says, why would he retire as soon as Yang fled and started accusing the CCP of a cover-up? Even today, Malik is still misinforming and praising the CCP for their control of the pandemic. Dr. Yan says Syrian golden hamsters are a good choice as an animal model for SARS-2. Professionally, it has been a good model for SARS research compared to other animals. Apparently, monkeys and mice with human ACE2 receptors don't reflect the SARS-2 symptoms well or the fatality rate. This is because human ACE2 receptors are more widely distributed in their bodies, so it may cause deaths due to brain damages. However, because humans have a blood-brain barrier, the situation is unlikely to occur. Thus, they will cause biased research and are not good animal models for disease transmission research. Syrian golden hamsters has proven to be a good animal in the study of other diseases such as H3 influenza. Dr. Yan used them as a model for the study of pathology and SARS-2 and how it spreads. She personally completed all the experiments in the P3 laboratory and participated in the basic design of the entire experiment in the later data collection. However, many situations reflected in this experiment are not even clearly written in this article. Why is this so? Because I had no idea this article was personally reviewed by Malik Paris himself before the submission. He can cover up the content he does not want me to mention, or make other content the focus of emphasis. He is also tied to the WHO and knew about SARS-2 and what it can do, but didn't act and allowed it to spread. The WHO reported mid-January there is no human-to-human transmission as a result of this, and as a result of their collaboration with the lying Chinese Communist Party. And this is because we found something, and Dr. Yan says, this is because we found something terrible in the hamster experiment. We made several models of direct and indirect contact. We found as long as a patient is found, the entire building or city is closed. This is very dangerous. She says the CCP recognized SARS-2 is very infectious, so they welded in entire residential buildings, regardless if everyone dies, because they believe no one there would escape infection. This is why we are seeing so many reports of one person getting infected and then the whole family follows. This was clearly reflected in the hamster experiment. We put healthy mice in a cage where sick hamsters lived for 8 hours. They were infected immediately. At the same time, the load of the virus they are infected with is also very high. In trying to report her findings from her research, she made another paper for The Lancet she was not properly credited for. It talks about how you get very sick depending on how much of a viral load you get. She later published another paper using antibody titer to analyze the severity of SARS-2. It showed patients with antibodies wore off after around 3 months. She submitted it in April to The Lancet, and after a month, it was denied. Dr. Yang knew the antibody data would impact vaccine development, which likely caused the article to be blocked. Her name was removed from the authors list. She also mentions the CCP government has never developed any useful vaccine for the world. What they have done is copy-paste research from other countries, which has resulted in dangerous toxic vaccines that have gotten covered up. Now Dr. Yan says it's concerning that SARS-2 seems to be similar to many of the most dangerous viruses. Her family has been harassed, and the Chinese Communist Party has tried to discredit her on the internet as being mentally disturbed. Her skilled web pages and affiliations have been deleted. The Chinese embassy in U.S. denied knowing who she is and praised the CCP for its handling of the pandemic. On April 28th, she fled China, leaving her husband and friends and family behind to the U.S. to evade authorities. And so this is the story of Dr. Yan. And she was in America for a couple of months. She had to deal with the FBI and this and that. And the past 2 days, she's been all over I guess, in the underground in the YouTube, and people are spreading her videos and her message, and I'm going to be following her story very closely and see where it goes, because there's a lot of interesting information that she has provided. And that's it. For the sources on this one, just go on YouTube and put in her name and look at her interviews. There's also a lot of captions available. Just search Dr. Li-Meng, and you'll see everything she has to say is backed up. I actually looked back on a lot of this stuff and found that it checks out. But that's it. We will probably be hearing more about her pretty soon, but you're getting an early look on this before it gets out to more people. And thank you for watching. Share the video if you can, and I will see you the next time.